Today, I want to discuss modern day relationships and dating because I have observed that it's difficult out there. It's difficult outside nowadays. I've been chilling at home, because part of me just a little bit scared of what's going on outside. No, but for real, like I feel like there's a lot going on and it's very difficult to navigate the dating scene and even relationships nowadays because I feel like there's so much noise and programming and unresolved trauma that it is a difficult ocean to navigate. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like there's plenty of fish, but the fish are compromised. Like, like how a lot of fish nowadays have like parasites and whatnot. I feel like that's kind of like the dating scene to an extent. And there's a lot of great relationships out there as well. There's a lot of good men and good women. But today I'm really going to be touching on how I'm perceiving the difficulties in this space. And I think a lot more people are having more so difficulties than they are having ease and clarity and triumph over these areas of their life. So I want to give my opinion based on my experience and based on my observation. I'm 41 years old and I have experienced quite a lot within my life. And even up till now, I'm still learning. I just want to share some of my experience with you. I've been engaged before, I've been in long-term relationships and I've also been on the dating scene as well. I feel like I've seen a little bit of different variations of relationships. And also, I observe what's going on outside as well. I observe what's going on social media and just in people's lives that I know and I just feel like there's a lot that needs to be healed within society and within individuals and how we see relationships. We're so bombarded with so many ideologies. It can be one, overwhelming, and I think two, it can have a really negative impact on how we behave within our partnerships and relationships and even dating and just human interaction in general. It's a lot different from when I was like in my 20s. Dating was so easy. When I was younger. It was so easy. And honestly, I don't think it's just because to be fair, I feel like me being more mature and knowing myself more does change the game. But at the same time, I feel like people had their traumas and they had their stuff, but they weren't so infiltrated by all of the influences that they're exposed to now. If you don't really know yourself, it's very hard to engage in a relationship. If you don't know what you need and what you want, how can you know exactly what it is you want from a relationship? And I feel like a lot of people are out here nowadays and they're just trying to fill a void. I feel like that just leads to confusion and disappointment and people not being consistent and wavering. I feel like women have lowered their standards and they have lost their integrity in certain ways. And I feel like men are opportunists and they will sometimes take what they can get. So if we don't have high standards, they're going to enjoy our low standards because that makes the game super easy for them, right? And we're not trying to make it hard for them, but easy is something that we should not be. That's why they say women can be complicated, right? Because we should be complicated to an extent. We should have our needs and wants as an individual, unique woman understood and designed within us. So knowing yourself and knowing your truth is extremely important. And I think a lot of men and women nowadays do not understand themselves on a really deep level. I think people understand what they want when it comes to certain things, when it comes to certain generic, idealized checklist, of what they might want from a partner. But I don't feel they really understand exactly what they need based on like their deep needs, not just superficial needs and wants as well. Because, we're entitled to want things as well, right? But it's like, what are they grounded in? people when they're in their partnerships, relationships, sometimes it's not making sense. So yeah, I hear a lot of women saying that they want a rich provider man, twin flame, they want gifts, their love languages, acts of service, and all these things. But yeah, I just feel like it's unrealistic, and you're basically looking for like a traits of a Disney movie prince. And that's literally just programming. So I'm not blaming you for that. I just feel like when we don't have realistic expectations of what love is and what relationships are, then we get caught up in Disneyland. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of people right now are in Disneyland. I think that's men and women. Yeah. Or the opposite is happening where like we're tolerating maybe disrespectful, unreliable, toxic behavior because our parents, maybe we had like a difficult childhood, our parents mistreated us, neglected us, made us work very, very hard for love and validation. So, that's also an issue. And I see both sides. I see people kind of doing both. And sometimes there's also a mix. Even the woman who wants the princess treatment, she can still be in a delusion because she's not grounded in her truth. So she wants a fairy tale with the prince charming to come and save her, and pay all her bills and help her live her best life. But at the same time, she's also laced in trauma and a lack of self-worth. So, she'll project these things and she might dress up in all the classy clothes and try to find all the rich men or, try to find whatever guy it is she wants to find and have all these high expectations, but at the same time not be able to follow certain things through and even stand on her own 10 toes because she's not coming from a place of solidarity within herself. I think the question is not about whether so much he's Prince Charming or not. I just feel like these things need to be grounded in truth, not fantasy or, low expectations shrouded in trauma. Right now, I'm completely single. It's definitely by choice because I have relatively high standards that are grounded in truth. They're not just Disney movie type scenarios that I have in my mind, which I think sometimes some people suffer with. The Disney princess, disorder, maybe I might call it. I'll probably make another video about love languages later because I think that's a bit of a meh. So yeah, I'm not blaming anyone as well because it is programming, and I did myself used to have some like slightly unrealistic expectations, and I'm very much into my high standards in terms of like how I see myself, how I live my life, what I expect and what I'm not willing to tolerate, all these things. So it's not that I'm not going to lower my goalpost for anybody, but I also think that some people, a lot of women and even men, like have this idealistic kind of attitude towards relationships when it's really ridiculous because we're all human and we're all going through stuff and life is absolutely not perfect. I also feel like it's important to be grounded in substance when we are vetting a potential partner or even like reviewing a relationship. Reviewing a relationship is a totally different ball game because if you've tolerated certain things from the gate, sometimes it's very hard to try to change someone's behavior. But I'm more going to focus on like, if you're in the dating scene or you're re-examining certain things that haven't been working for you in your relationship. A lot of the time, it actually isn't about the other person. A lot of the time, it's about you, right? Because we are choosing, especially as women, like we choose. Men like to just have what they can have. Do you understand? Obviously, they're not necessarily going to want to settle down into a relationship with any woman, but men are happy to always have the opportunity. Women have the grace of being in a position, if she so chooses to be way more selective. Do you know what I'm saying? And sometimes they're not. And I honestly feel like that is definitely based on a lack of self-esteem or a lack of self-worth, these types of things. Things that I feel like should be focused on more than, does he meet all your checklists of dream man behavior, or, is he, rich, or all these kind of things? Is he going to give me this lifestyle, or is he going to, allow me to travel and do all these things, take me out shopping? I feel like the important questions really are like, what is what is your person's, or the person you're interested in, the object of your desire? What are their aligning morals and ethics? Is he going to be a good dad? Is he a real one who's going to look after you when you're not well? Does he even like women? Does he have a good relationship with his mum? Is he still hung up on his ex? Right, these things do come out. People show signs of these things. You can tell by how they speak about people. Does he tell you the truth? Yeah, again, that's something you've got to observe over time, but you have to be observing, right? And then not ignore certain things when you see them. Does he take you out, make you feel appreciated? Do you actually like each other? Like, can you guys actually spend long periods of time together? Not for the sake of just having company, but because you genuinely really get along with each other. You can actually have a laugh with each other. You can converse for hours with each other. Any shared interests, commonalities, hobbies, habits. I don't feel like you have to have all the same hobbies or habits. Even if you don't have even a lot of hobbies and habits, I feel like it's good to have some shared hobbies and habits, especially in areas of your life where they mean a lot to you. Like, i.e., does his diet and lifestyle align to yours? Does he meet your standards? Do you have shared goals for the future? Like, do you guys even speak about the future? Do you know what I mean? Is he sensible with money? Not how fast can he spend it, but is he sensible with money? But also, is he generous in the right way? And even that should be in a grounded and realistic way. That's just my opinion. I feel like women are trying to use men for money too much nowadays. Like, honestly, like, I feel like times have changed, and I'm very old school, but I feel like me relying on a man for money is wild, especially in 2025. It just gives them way too much control over you. I'm not saying that a man can't be a provider and not violate it, but I feel like it can leave you in a precarious position if you are just waiting and hoping on that, or if you allow yourself to be in that situation and you don't have any goals or aspirations for yourself. Unless you're a homemaker, stroke mother, and you're married, then maybe you have some more security. But even then, you're not always necessarily secure. But we don't live in fear. But I'm just saying, like, in general, it's like, do you really want to be like, oh, I'm just gonna wait for a guy to come along and pay all my bills? Is he responsible with your feelings? Is he responsible with your emotional needs? Does he add value? Is he helpful? Is he gonna walk over your trash bin? Or is he gonna take that out with him? Do you know what I mean? Do you get along with his parents, his family, his friends? Imagine, like, he's got a female best friend and you guys just can't stand each other, and maybe you question whether that friendship is plutonic. Like, all these kind of situations. It's not the situation that you don't want to be in these situations with somebody and not have defined boundaries around them, or ideologies even. I feel like there's a lot more important things that sometimes maybe we could focus on when we're getting to know somebody, when we're dating, when we're asking them questions. What's your 5-year plan? Not because I want to see how much money you're going to give me, but yeah, I want to see where you're going. Does it align with me? You know, in a few years, I'd like to move out of the country. So I know that when I meet someone, there's got to be some synergy there. There's got to be some alignment there. They have to maybe be open to moving, or not be totally against it at least, and also know that that's something I have planned for the future, and not be like, yeah, I know that I'm definitely going to be in the UK because that's where I live now for the rest of my life, and then I'm like, oh, I'm going to go and be on a tropical island somewhere. You got to make sure your goals are aligning. So yeah, those things kind of, I feel like, are important. I feel like certain things are kind of overlooked in the heat of the moment, or the tunnel narrow vision that you have on a situation, i.e., you might be like, yeah, I just want to become his girlfriend and become center of his world, and he just loves me and just takes me out and spoils me and makes me feel great about myself, and just loves me down and makes me feel wonderful. Do you know what I mean? I feel like relationships are predicated upon so much more than that. Real relationships. And I feel like men dealing with men nowadays can be very tricky and vice versa. Like I feel like dating women could be very tricky as well because I feel like a lot of people are carrying on trauma and they have very warped perceptions of what relationships are supposed to be. And I suppose no one can really say what the perfect relationship is supposed to look like. But I feel like the way people perceive them nowadays and what people expect from them is really just random and upside down. And I feel like these warped perceptions are really based on the general things that we've already identified, right? Social media, TV, music, porn. Porn is just horrible for men mostly. I feel like because I feel like it gives them a terrible example of what they should be doing. You know, taking advice from stupid members of family and stupid friends, okay, who don't have a clue about even what a long-term relationship even looks like, or their own personal relationships are an absolute sham. They probably never even experienced a really happy or healthy relationship, but guys are listening to other guys give them advice about how they should be dealing with women. And yeah, men don't honor women the way they should anymore. I think that's got a lot to do with women not honoring themselves. It's like sometimes there's a lack of self-respect, and there's lots of women that do. There's lots of women that do respect themselves, right? But I also think there's a lot of women that don't. And I feel like the women that don't respect themselves and don't respect their boundaries, they do open up the door for men to feel to validate men's behavior basically and make it really easy for them to keep on doing what they do. A lot of men will like you because you're giving them access to what they want. A lot of people will like you in general if you're just giving them access to what they want, even when it's at the detriment of your own health, your own truth. I'm not gonna say act like I'm an angel. I've made some mistakes in the past. I've broke one or two hearts through my own lack of not knowing myself, not standing in my own truth fully. And these are things that I feel like I've had to learn, but learning certain things has absolutely been a game changer for me because even like some of my old relationships that I had that was long term. I have had two very long term relationships. One of them was not great. And it's because I wasn't standing in my truth. I was scared of loss. I felt like that if I spoke my truth, he would just leave me. When I was a kid, I was somewhat neglected to an extent. And that definitely translated through into my relationships and wanting to be validated and definitely like a fear of abandonment. And these things just have an effect. And I feel like if we don't address those things or understand those things definitely will follow us into all of our relationships, not just male female love relationships. It will infiltrate all of them. And also another interesting thing I've observed is that sometimes I find like polar opposites attract. So like you will have a really great guy and a really toxic woman, or vice versa. Really great woman holds it down, does her thing, and her guy is just outside, just running up and down outside, just throwing disrespect on her whole existence and on her name. Do you know what I'm saying? So I feel like people are pairing up with people that are not in alignment with them. Do you know what I mean? And that causes problems. People that have low standards usually have a low self-worth. They feel like they need validation from outside. They usually have a closed or repressed throat chakra, if you believe in such things. And then you've got the other flip side where people have these unrealistic standards and super high expectations that are just really unrealistic. They're usually idealist, a main character. They got main character energy, or should I say syndrome in this case? And it's in a negative way because you can have main character energy and it can be great. It can be a positive thing, but sometimes people are having main character energy and it's actually just not cute. And these people tend to usually have an overactive throat chakra. Like they just be, I want, this is what, right? And a lot of times, sometimes they're not even the kind of people that even think about what other people need. That's what I've noticed about certain characters that are like that. You have to have some type of balance, right? And I think somewhere in the middle is maybe more healthy. It's like you know when to talk, when not to talk, what you need to make demands about, and what you can let go. What's actually not that important. Because that's the reality of a relationship. It's like a daily practice of compromise. It's a daily practice of sharing your life with somebody. It's not just I want this, I need them to fill this void. They need my partner to be doing this for me. I want. You know, it's an I want, I need. And what do you want? What do you need? That's relationships. And I don't think people always understand that simple premise. So I think it's really important to be grounded in your truth so that when you speak, you are speaking with conviction based on your whole truth, on your morals, your principles, and your ethics. That's your truth. You know, how you want to live your life, how you're choosing to live your life. And your partner should align with you when it comes to certain things, not necessarily everything, but your partner should be supportive and understand certain things. You know, there's a lot of unhealthy relationship traits that I see, and I just think, wow. So, like, for example, like if I'm talking about myself, like some of my morals and principles that I've definitely cultivated over the years, but also some things I feel like were fundamentally within me and I used to just repress due to not wanting to upset people or ruffle people's feathers and wanting everyone else to be comfortable and happy. I was a bit more on the people pleasing side. It's cute and all that, but it won't serve you. I feel like if you're a people pleaser type person, you have to definitely strike a balance. Like, yes, we can try and make everyone happy, but we also must definitely make sure that our own needs are met because all the time people pleasers, if you don't, your needs will absolutely be neglected or you will get stomped over and people just be like, yeah, thank you for being my doormat. I appreciate that. Actually, no, sorry, I don't even say thank you. I appreciate that. Just wipe their foot and keep it moving. Like, you know, so some things that I've learned over the years to not waver on is that nowadays I feel absolutely no way of demanding that God be present in somebody's life that I choose to spend my time with. You need to understand that there's a higher power than you that is good, and you need to respect that power. I speak my truth, even if it hurts me, even if it breaks my heart. I'm going to stand in my truth because I know that if I don't, my heart's going to get broken anyway. It might just happen slower. Another ethic that I would never waver on is showing off the people that I love and keeping my word. I feel like keeping my word is bond. I feel like a man or a woman, especially a man though, like, but men and women, all you actually have is your word. Take away like all the fancy stuff you might buy, take away holidays, clothes, experiences, iPhones, technology. It's just your body, your energy, what you think, say, and do. Even what I think doesn't impact the world as much. What I do and what I say has the most impact on the world. So I feel like if I want to be a woman of virtue, I can't mince my words. It's not a good look. I never, ever, ever accept breadcrumbs, not even for my friends. My truth must be paramount because it's who I am. And I know that anytime I step out of it, it leads to me being dissatisfied, unimpressed, and feeling confusion and nonsense. Do you know what I mean? When I stand in my truth, it keeps me straight. Good health is wealth, and I don't slack too far from my health and well-being. That's a very deep ethic for me. I could go on, but those are a few probably of my core ones. Yeah, I just feel like everybody could do with just having their principles and ethics and morals very defined within themselves so that they are not easily knocked around It's like they say, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And I think a lot of people are falling for a lot of shit, BS, to be honest. And ever since I've grounded myself in my truth, I have seen how the world has responded to me. It's been a process over years. I've been grounding myself more and more and more in my truth. And the more I internalize it, not just say it, but actually live it and internalize it and embody it, I see even without me having to speak, I see how people respond to me. I see how men respond to me. My personality, my principles, my everything is based on being knowledgeable and standing 10 toes on what I think about things. I'm not immovable, like where no one can't chat to me and tell me this, they can't educate me. I'm very, very much open to education, but it's also very hard for people to swim for my truth. Because for it to be my truth, I had to have experienced or learned something where I felt like I had to internalize it. I'm never demanding or disrespectful. I just hold my standards in a peaceful manner. I never used to always speak my truth. I used to know when to laugh, even when I didn't always think it was funny, just to keep the peace. I used to repress my voice when I needed to speak up. And sometimes I tolerated things that I should not have, you know, and those things were ultimately detrimental to my happiness. So I think it's important to find your truth. I had to dig deep to find my truth. And I believe that I will align with the right people that are meant to be in my life who are on my frequency. Communication and directness are so important because you can only communicate to the degree in which you know yourself and your self worth, which is by default inherent, but sometimes we're not aware of this. So we could say that you can only communicate based on what you know about yourself. You can't articulate anything else besides what you're aware of. So there's a lot of stuff going on like deep inside, So yeah, if you know yourself and what you want, you are not willing to tolerate BS. You will know your non-negotiables, your boundaries, your essence, your truth, and you know how to articulate that in a palatable manner. And you'll do that in a calm and direct way because you're not relying on somebody to understand you or even receive you. You're giving somebody the opportunity to understand and receive you. It's not by force. So, this is who I am. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. And now I'm just going to sit back and wait for your response. And your response is either going to be something that I can work with or I cannot. And if I can't, I'll tell you, okay, cool. I feel this is where we maybe part ways, but I wish you all the best in life, sir. I might not say sir, but I wish you all the best in life. And I will go home, maybe feel a little bit annoyed about it, because I like to get what I want. And if I don't, I can be my feelings about it. That's fine. But I will let it go. If a man really likes, and that's how to work out if a man really likes you. If he really likes you, he's gonna try and compromise with you, especially if you know your morals and ethics are grounded in reality. You're not just behaving like a Disney princess and coming to him with this, you gotta be my prince energy. And some men love that, some men respond to that, right? I've met men that like being in that position. I have dated some guys that are well to do, or some people would consider rich, even if it's just friendships, right? Because I'm not outside. Men that do these things, something I've observed in them. Hence why I don't necessarily have that criteria like he's got to be this, he's got to be rich. Sometimes rich guys are the worst because they have access to feed all of their demons, and they probably a lot of time they expect you to just tolerate that. Do you know what I'm saying? And I'm too spicy for that. I'm too much of a rebel for that. I'm not going to be no one's doormat. Do you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so it's not all that glitters that is gold. And I'm also not going to say that all guys that have a lot of money are rich, because I just feel like a lot of women want this nowadays. So that's why I'm mentioning this. But not all guys that are rich or whatever not are unhealed, enabled assholes, okay? But a lot of them are. So, if you meet one that's not, you will know though, because you'll feel the groundedness of himself, especially if you are healed as well. Like if you are, and there's no such thing as completely healed, because this is people say this word a lot, like do your healing, do your this, do your that. I don't believe that we're ever going to be fully healed as human beings, but I feel like there's some very big issues that people just skip over in life and they just project it onto other people, and that's the issue. Women are so powerful, especially when they understand their inherent value. I can't even get into all the ways here because there's so many, but I'll make a video about that if you want. Just let me know in the comments. Yeah. But first one, I'll give you a couple of reasons. One, we birth men. Think about it. Just a moment of silence. We birth men, we birth their children. Yes, it takes men to give sperm for these things to occur in the first place, but we carry and grow these children inside of us. We literally give birth to men. Men don't give birth to us. I'm just saying. We need to understand our value and the power that truly comes with that. I think the problem is that some women abuse that power, and not the power of being a life bearer, but the power of just having a vagina, because that's a power in itself too. So there's a lot of women that abuse that power, and I think part of the problem that I see nowadays is that women exploit that power. They exploit their dark feminine, their so-called dark feminine energy, and I feel like men then now feel like they are all victims. And I suppose to a degree they are. Women are ferocious. And men are paying like a generational debt. If we're really talking like on a spiritual level, men are paying some of a spiritual debt. And also many of them need to fix up, yes. But men are used to being tolerated. Think about it, they're used to getting their own way. Men have a kind of supremacy where they can't believe women are just not impressed by them. They can't believe that we're acting up. I find it funny. They cannot believe it. And the dark feminine is being touted as a way to deal with men and empower oneself as a woman. But the dark feminine principle is one of the most powerful and potentially destructive forces in existence. If we choose, life can cease. That energy definitely has to be channeled in the right way. Otherwise, it can be very destructive and very toxic to all parties, including oneself. Women are fed up with men's antics. So I get it. Men have been running around the town for as long as we can document in history. Far back, probably as far back as we can go in the common history books that we're given, men was running the show, and women did not have the freedoms that they have today. So, you know, if we're keeping it real, that's what it's been. And many of us women we've had to see what it looks like. And men have experiences too, but I'm talking about women right now more so. We've had to see what it looks like for our dad to leave or not be present. That's had an effect on us. Also, all the programming, TV shows, and back in the day, women would be like, you have to have a man, or what are you? Like, and women have placed their self-worth on that for a long time. I definitely don't think we should place our self-worth on it, but I do think relationships are beautiful when they are healthy. And I think that means that two individual people come together who are not projecting their traumas and actually want to find someone who's in alignment with them and then build and grow with them, compromise. enjoy each other's company, grow, all that good stuff. So now that women have more freedom to misbehave and not be stoned to death, I understand the psychology that's going on. And also, that is why feminism has had such a big impact on women. I believe the feminist movement is a bit of a psyop, but I think that's another video within itself. Just leave in the comments if you want me to make a video about it. But back in the day, all the way back as far as like I believe ancient Egypt and probably before that even, I do think there was a time when women ran stuff, I can't lie. And I'm very Christian centered. So when I say that, I understand that that conflicts with what the Bible says. But I research the Bible and I research other things, historical texts, all different types of things. I'm seeking, I'm seeking. So from the dawn of as far back as we can recall in history, women have been heavily punished for things such as adultery, not even getting into other things, just things like having, and when I say adultery, I don't even mean like marriage, I mean like actually just having sex out of marriage or just being a cheating ass. Okay. Either way, women have literally, they've had to face things like the death penalty, amputations, imprisonment, public shaming, all these kind of things. That's just to name a few, okay? Those days, a woman's sanctity was of the utmost priority, you know. And maybe they was, I think they was onto something with that for sure, but they was doing too much with the tortury stuff. They're doing too much. So we've had to like endure a lot. And you know, for men, even though there were some less harsh punishments in regards to these things, men still had way more freedom in those domains. And provided the woman wasn't married, he was kind of good, to be honest. I just feel like there's an entitlement that comes with men, and we also have to kind of consider that sometimes when we see them crying about how women are treating them, even though women are probably not even doing half as much as what men have done to women over and throughout history, because we can get deep with what men have really done with women in the past, including things like rape and all kinds of things. It's not very often you see a grown woman trying to attack a grown ass man for his bits against his will. It's just not common. Okay, I'm just saying. So we as women we've put up with a lot, and men are very entitled. So you know, I get why women are mad, and I get why men are crying. Like, but you know, we got to stop letting men who are still in their baby brains run game, and you got to just demand the respect that you know you deserve at this point in life. You got to stand in your truth and know who you are 10 toes, because no one else gives a shit, really. And even the man you think you're going to love in the future, he's not going to give a shit if you don't give a shit about who you are. People will just take you for whatever they want to take you for a ride. I feel like we as women can demand the respect that we deserve, and we don't really need to do that through resorting to a lower nature. We don't need to do that through manipulation or any dark feminine behaviors. I don't think it's necessary. Standing in your truth, standing in love for yourself, standing in your light, standing in the knowing of who you are, knowing that you are a powerful force and portal of creation. Like, no cap, you're a life bearer. Men and women both have inherent and intrinsic value, but you know, women need to understand that as soon as you remember who you are, and as soon as you know what you want and you stand in the truth of who you are, and it's morally aligned to growth, goodness, and well being, the game changes, literally. You know, I'm saying what I'm saying, and I know that it's not necessarily easy to cultivate that out of yourself and then to stand in it as well. And, you know, there's consequences for being in this God given power, I like to call it, right? Because the way I feel now, I feel like is the way that God made me to be. I feel like the Most High didn't want me to just be at the whim of other people's desires or other people's whatever they feel like doing. I feel like God put me here to embrace my divinity, and that doesn't include being a doormat. None of God's children should be a doormat. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like there's consequences to being in your God given power. It may mean that you have to be alone for a little while until things align to your new truth, or to your realized truth and your new way of being, or aligning certain concepts into your life or certain ways of being into your life. Some people will fall off, right? But at the same time, you're aligning your energy to align with the people who are feeling that energy, who are respectful of the fact that you have standards, that are respectful and admire the fact that you have values and ethics and principles that you stand on. People that admire that you don't just throw yourself around. Do you know what I'm saying? People that admire that you cherish your energy and you're conservative with your energy, your body, all these things because you understand that you're valuable. Do you know what I mean? And it's like when you understand that you're valuable, your value increases. So there are some consequences. It may take you a longer time to find the one, whatever that is. Yeah. It might take you a longer time to find your soulmate or your twin flame or the one or whatever, your SP. That's what I hear people saying. Especially if your truth has been buried for a long time or your truth is newly activated, you've got to take time for the material to catch up, depending on what perspective you're looking at it from. Yeah, there'll be unpacking, reorganizing, decluttering, you know. The same way you have to declutter your wardrobe when you want to get new stuff, new clothes. You've got to declutter your relationship life sometimes. All them guys that's DMing you and all the noise and the nonsense and the riffraff from people that actually are not that serious. Even if they are like a cute distraction, just someone to DM or someone to talk to. Do you know what I'm saying? Or even someone who's going to come love you down from time to time. All of that stuff is distraction and it's noise. And it's noise from you becoming a better version of yourself if it's not in alignment with your growth and your truth. And the honest thing is that you're going to probably start again with a lot of your relationships if you are really learning yourself for kind of on a deeper level. You might have to let a lot of people go. It might even include family members and friends. Because being in your truth and your knowing will affect everyone and it will affect everything in your life now and in the future. It's a good thing though. Life is not a game to be played, it's an experience to be had. And it's a place to learn, create, and grow if you so choose. If you choose to be a player and you like to play games, you will more than likely be played at some point too, because everybody has a final boss. Everybody. I think God designed it like that. God is good or listen, yeah, everybody's got final bosses. Nobody that can keep on running around too reckless without someday someone just coming and done in your show in a certain way. So yeah, we need to initiate growth within ourselves, make men more accountable, not by punishing them or treating them badly. Instead, we need to lead. I feel like women are so powerful. We need to lead as mothers and teachers, even if you don't want kids and you have no desire for kids or whatever it is, whether you are a mom, as a woman, you are a teacher and a nurturer by default. Whether you embrace that title or that essence or not is totally up to you. But women naturally are teachers and nurturers by design. When you demonstrate as a teacher and you demonstrate your embodiment, right? And your self respect, and you move with poise and grace. When you move with conviction, stand in your truth, nobody can tell you anything, to be honest. It's also a lot easier for you to walk away if anybody is just not in alignment. Sometimes like you're in this twitch, like, oh, should I be there? Should I not? Oh my God, he's not doing this. Should I? But you don't have to do all of that. You know instantly if something's off or it doesn't align with what you have said you want or you need. it's very easy. Back in the day, like if I liked somebody, I'd be like, oh my God, like, why did you not call me back? Oh, I want to cry, whatever, to myself. I won't cry in front of other girls. It's like, cry to myself. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe sometimes, or I might feel like that inside. But now I'm just like, if somebody does not align with where I'm at and we're speaking, I'm just like, bye. And the thing is, I'm not even like one of these block happy people. I'm just like, okay, yeah, he hasn't texted you for like 2 days. Bye. Do you know what I'm saying? He doesn't send you good morning texts, or he's not trying to even go out on a date. Yeah, you're trying to just talk to me for weeks. Bye. Like, I don't have time for sleepy people. I don't have time for certain things. I know exactly what I like and what I don't like. So I just don't entertain things that I don't, and I entertain things that I do, and it works. It's I feel so much happier, and I haven't found my SP yet, but I feel so okay with that. Do you know what I'm saying? Sometimes don't get me wrong, I do feel like, oh, it'd be nice to just have a baby, like, yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, I just don't what I could be in relationships now. I also could be married. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I could be in a relationship right now, but I wouldn't like it. I wouldn't want it because it's not giving me what I want. Does that make sense? Like I'm very single by choice and I'm so okay with that. Now I'm just like, cool, I'm open to meeting somebody, but I'm just like, unless it really fits what I'm looking for, like, and not the idea of perfection, just in terms of my ethics, my morals, my principles, things that I want out of life, what I feel is important. If it doesn't line with what I know I need and want, then I'm just not wasting my time on it. And it's so much easier. You don't have to play all these little guessing games like, oh, is he doing, why is he doing that? And yeah, so, if things are not in alignment, it's easier for you to walk away or to remove your energy because you know that it's just not the right situation for you. Or, when you articulate your needs or your truth, if it's not for them, they can step. It's up to them whether they take it in a positive way or not. It's up to them whether they feel like whether they are up to the cut of what your needs are and they're willing to step up or willing to give you that. And if they're not, that's okay. That one day I ever don't like you that much, that's okay. Not for everybody. Not everyone's for everybody. That's okay. That's good. That's great. Or they're just not capable of giving it to you. Either one doesn't matter. Either way, you're not getting what you want, so it doesn't matter. So for me, it's like remove that noise and then just make way for my husband. Yeah, I just feel like if the majority of women took this stance, men would have to revert to the better version of themselves, or they'd have to just suffer the consequences of your absence. And if everything I'm saying to you feels difficult, then probably getting to know yourself and doing the whole self-work thing is probably even more of a priority, like really getting to know yourself and what it is you need, because it means that you don't feel comfortable standing in your truth. Do you know what I'm saying? And if we really deep it, like a really together strong man who's working on his life and wants to grow is probably not going to so much appreciate a woman who doesn't know who she is at all. Like, it's just down for anything. It's just a fun time girl, or she's just a yes girl. Do you know what I'm saying? Like a pick me. And I don't love the Shira 7 vibes, but some women are pick me's. And I just don't think men respect that. I also don't agree with the rich gold digger BS either. I feel like it's just glorified prostitution. If you're going to lay down with a guy just because he's got money and you're not even attracted to him, this is he always pays bills and you're going to have his kids, you've got to live with him every day. It's wild. Anyway, that could be a different video. Put in the comments if you want to see that video. I'll make it for you. I believe 1 + 1 = 2. When two whole people get together and come together, that they're two whole people in unison. Like it's powerful, power couple vibes. Whereas I feel like a lot of people are operating on the zero point 0.5 + 0.5, trying to become one. And it's cute and all that, but I also think that it's a concoction for codependency and potentially just like neediness to an extent. And I feel like interdependency is cute. Codependency isn't terrible, but it can be if you're with the wrong person. And the reason why it's not so great is because it can leave you in a really vulnerable state. And the way that life is set up right now, it's really up to you if you want to leave yourself outside like that, like just vulnerable. So yeah, it's nice when you fill your own voids as opposed to looking for the outside. And that when somebody comes into your life, they're actually just aligning with you, they're complimenting you, they're not filling all the emptiness or emptinesses, voids that you have inside of you. Because when that person leaves, what happens to those voids? If that person leaves, because nothing's guaranteed in the end of the day. And look, as I said, I have not always known my own worth. Like, my worth comes from me understanding that I am God's child. It's got nothing to do with anything else. Do you know what I mean? It's not because I think I'm pretty intelligent. It's got nothing to do with my brains, my looks, my this, my that, my whatever, my money. It's got nothing to do with those things. It's to do with the fact I'm God's child. But my truth is that, we're divine beings with a magnificent power, and we have an amazing opportunity to be here right now in this form, in this present moment. Life is short, so I just embrace like the specialness of that more so. Life's hard enough. I don't want to make my life harder by just having a lot of randomness and trash and negative vibes around me. I'm gonna have people around me, they're gonna add value, they're gonna show me love, they're gonna be good people, reliable people who have good ethics. And my man needs to reflect my values and ethics even more than my friends. Because when you've got a man, you live in the same house. Like if you're moving in the right direction, at some point you'll be living together, getting married, even having children. But if you're not even, people don't even think about these things. Like if you're not aligned on how you'd even raise your kids, a lot of people are just having kids and they're not even understanding what their partner's views and ideologies are about that. So yeah, I just feel like when you know your worth and you embrace it and embody it, other people naturally understand what time it is right before you even say much certain times. And there are some people that are still gonna not always see it. But if you're embodying your whole essence and people still don't see that, then you definitely probably shouldn't be around those ones because they're either deliberately choosing not to see it or they're very tapped. A lot of time we're falling in love with people who we don't really understand, people that we don't know. And I feel like it's more about growing in love with somebody who is in alignment with our nervous system, with our needs, that just honor us in a certain way for us to have a fulfilling relationship. And it's vice versa for sure. And relationships are not perfect. They take time, they take work. Life is full of ups and downs, whether it's on a personal, professional level. There's so many things that happen in life. And if you're in a relationship with somebody, you're going to go through all the changes and transitions that they do, and they should be going through all those changes and transitions with you. Unless you're doing something that's self-destructive on purpose and you're just turning into a jackass, you just become a moron, just totally neglectful and horrible or violent or this or that, right? Destroying yourself on purpose, then okay, definitely get your shit and go. But if people are going through literal ups and downs in life, wouldn't you want them to stand by you if the shoe was on the other foot? Sometimes in these situations, people can push people away for sure. Like, but I don't know, like the relationship that I understand is that of just being a rider, like ride through the tough times. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like in society, we've lost that mentality of like just sticking together through thick and thin. Not because when he's cheating on you, disrespecting you, as I said, like doing nonsense, but through thick and thins, like literally. I don't know, that's just my opinion. I feel like that's what I'm maybe kind of looking for as well. Like, not just that, but somebody who actually has a rider mentality and doesn't just is not caught up with the fairies and social media. Yeah, I was gonna say just stop giving men everything that they want all the time if they are incapable of giving you what you want. You know what I mean? You don't need anyone to validate you beside yourself and God, the Most High, maybe. And no one knows what you want and what you need better than what you do. And men actually like direction. If a man is into you, I find that he actually likes to know what you want and what you like and what you don't like. He will take interest of your nuances. I just don't feel like you should have to fight too hard for somebody to love you, and you shouldn't have to tolerate being treated like a doormat, right? Yeah, so we as women need to know when to walk away, and even men, like we need to know when to walk away and how to protect our heart. The more you respect yourself and your principles and you stand on your 10 toes, men will have no choice but to align or step. That's a good thing. It's not a loss if he doesn't have the capacity for you and your needs. It's not a loss if he has no desire to build or grow with you, or he never wants to invest in you. It's not a loss if he is disrespectful, if he's unattentive, distant, or a cheater, or a woman beater. Sometimes you just got to let it go and just be open to what's for us, you know? Get rid of the waste dust. You get to choose the people that are in your life. You get to choose what you do, period, in general. Life is a beautiful gift where we get to choose what we want to do. It's not necessarily easy, but we get to choose. And waiting for the right person and doing your own work to cultivate your self-development is is great, but it does take some patience. It does take deep introspection and it requires faith and good to high standards, I feel like, for you to attract a king. But yeah, I believe that you'll be rewarded for your sacrifices because these things are sacrifices. And whenever we make a sacrifice for our highest good, it will absolutely pay off. It will absolutely pay off. Sacrificing temporary pleasures, fleeting moments of validation and attention with something that's long lasting and fulfilling and real. That's the kind of love that we deserve, right? And I believe in you and I pray for your success. I pray for your happiness in all ways. And yeah, I pray that you love yourself enough to do the work. I don't think it's an overnight thing. I feel like it kind of takes time to get to really understand yourself. But I feel like the more and more and more you do, is the more you're going to align to what you want and what you need. And yeah, sometimes we gotta put ourselves on the throne. But I feel like when you do a certain amount of work and you're standing in your truth in a certain way, you'll just be on the throne by default at that point. But yeah, if you got some value from this video, if you learned something, please let me know in the comments. Or if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm very happy to answer them. And yeah, please like, share, and subscribe so I know if it's hitting for you or not. And until next time, I'm sending my love.